Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium. I am JT Matthews, one of your hosts, and I'm here, as always, with the doctor, Nicholas Manning, at dr_n Manning on Twitter, and at JTMatthews01 on Twitter. If you'd like to follow us. Doc, how you feeling? It's Wednesday again. Just how's life? How are we feeling?
It's Wednesday again.
Again.
So I'm all about it. I like Wednesdays. Wednesdays are good. Means that you almost made it. But we have kids, small ones. So to be honest, like it being a weekday or weekend, it's all work. You know, I'm here for it.
Always busy.
Love the grind. Just get out there, give 110% for my teammates, all that good stuff. No, we're good. Got our wives just came back from a little trip.
Yep.
And mine leaves again next Wednesday.
Oh wow.
For a little girls trip. Yeah, so I'll be I'll be chilling again like a villain. How are you?
Running a one man
yeah.
personal weekend.
Yeah, that's what I do. Stuff happens.
For sure. I get that. How was your weekend? Any fun plans? I know that it probably wasn't spent watching college football.
No, not college football. Nope. Florida State is just like abysmal. DJ Ungalungale. Dear goodness, man. That like looks like Tarzan Plains like Jane. Like just I don't even know what to do. Yeah, he'll lose by 3 points to schools that you should be beating by 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, for sure.
And
I was anticipating a good season. I mean, they started top 10, right?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yep. Lose to Tech, lose to BC, get whomped by Memphis. Like, what are we doing? So I'm gonna have to just check out a little bit. Not gonna lie. And then it's not like the pro. Phil got better. However, coached our kids to 2 soccer victories on Saturday and another one on Sunday. So
against some irritating coaches in that second game. Yeah. I hate to be that guy, but they were annoying. They were loud.
They were loud and annoying. Yeah.
I was like watching my kid play soccer, and the whole time I'm just hearing their coaches scream, and I'm like,
yeah,
what? They're 7 years old.
That's just like when you're like, you can hear the coach yelling, and they're like, well, you got to be over, like doing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a moment where the coach realizes like they hear themselves, and then they try to add like some positive thing at the end. Like, yeah, but you're like, I appreciate your effort though. Yeah, like snuck that in after you just stuck right to the kid.
Right. I mean, it's probably more likely you like realize that their parents are watching you coach them, and they're 7 years old. Yeah. I mean, there was definitely a lack of self-awareness on that sideline for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
It was bizarre, but 2 wins. We'll take those in stride. Everyone looked pretty good, and we got some more games this weekend. So you're gonna coach them up.
My ability to hide as I'm eating, doing probably that's like but my ability to hide kids who because kids we do playing time. I don't believe in equal playing time. I believe in equitable playing time.
Sure.
Like if a kid has no endurance, I'm not gonna keep him out there for an additional 5 minutes.
Yes.
And then having them rotate to their liking, but all the kids got to play all the levels of the field. Now we got the dub.
Yep.
So feel good about it, and go out there grinding today in the warmth. Just trying to get 1% better today. That's time. 1% better.
Maybe get some of that endurance up for some of those lollygaggers.
Yeah, that's it's weird, man. Like when I was a little kid, the only thing I was conditioned. I ran off the how are you all tired from a 3 minute 3 minutes of soccer?
Yeah.
Right? It's like you're not running the whole time. And because I don't want you to stop running over there when you're supposed to be mid left.
Yeah, exactly.
Running? I'm not even asking you to run over there. So you shouldn't be tired because you didn't need to do that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Facts. Well, I know. I was same thing. I had kids doing dribble drills yesterday, and they're like, by the time we got done, they're like winded, and I'm like, this was the warm up, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though I would be winded too. So I try not to be too judgmental.
Yeah, no. But we have earned the right to be at a place now where we aren't doing that stuff.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I don't know. I won't accept it. I can run. I mean, I'll go do that stuff. Would I be winded? Maybe not. That said, like
probably not as much.
Just saying, guys. Come on.
Well, let's jump into some sports talk. And I think, unfortunately, we got to start with the Broncos' loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't know. I think we just need to take some temperature of how we're feeling following this loss, because I feel like, and understandably so, I feel like everyone's extremely low on Denver. I think coming into the season, there was a lot of hype. We had some national pundits saying, hey, this team could be pretty good. They're young. They've got a core that believes in what they're doing. They've got a quarterback that's looked pretty good in training camp and in preseason. Maybe the 5.5 game over under was a little bit low. And we heard that kind of all over the place. And I started to drink the Kool-Aid. And I think a lot of people did. And so I think finding ourselves 0-2 in some pretty winnable games has left everyone feeling a little stale. How are you with following those losses? Are you, I don't want to say off the Bo Nix bandwagon, but where's your head with this young quarterback and this team as it's constructed?
Yes, yeah, I'm not. Do I think it? Let me rewind. So for the team as constructed, am I down on it? I'm more down on it than I was. I thought that there was more talent. I think that there is more talent here. I thought so.
Sure.
Some of the places that you're seeing the deficiencies go, one is depth, right? So you and I just talked about it beforehand. If any of you play fantasy football, your team is probably wrecked right now. It's like week 3.
Yeah,
people are just getting, just getting blown up. And in Denver is no different. Mike McGlinchey is going to be out at least a month. And then you start to see kind of the next level of what you got. The salary cap issues that Russ Wilson caused, right? Is Matt Perth and Alec Palshevsky are your backup tackles. One has really floundered in their opportunities. However, I think the end of week 1, I don't actually think Perth played okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Palshevsky. I think this is a guy that could really develop into something. So I'm actually pretty pumped. Like I don't want not like the expensive injury.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But I'm excited to see him get some extended playing time. He's never played an NFL game outside of whatever it was, like the 2 snaps that he got last week. So I'm out on this year. Like I'm no longer is there kind of like, sneaky. They might, they could get 10 wins, like throwing that crap out the window. It's really is like, let's find out who is a part of the plan. That's it. So that part, I think I'm still on. I still think Bo Nix will be fine. I think what we've seen is, Jane Daniels has not been good. He's been better, but not good.
Sure.
And Caleb Williams has not been better either. And those are picks 1 and 2. And I think we would have taken either of those guys in a Mississippi heartbeat. Just kidding. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm going to use it.
Sounds cool.
I like it. I thought it was good. They're old enough. And so that, like, when you come into a team that lacks really, not even. So Chicago has playmakers at the wazoo. Offensive line, some struggles. It's harder than it looks to play this in this league. I think Stroud made everyone think that you can just blow up. But I remind people, he really didn't start really gaining traction last year until 10 weeks left.
Sure.
And that's kind of when things started to click. You start to see the connection with the OC and so I am pumping the brakes on Bo's a bust. Like if the other rookies were tearing it up and he's looking the way that he's looked, I'd be concerned. But I'm not. What I am concerned about, though, is this coaching staff who, by all accounts, is from all across kind of the pro circuit. This is a really dynamic coaching group. And the offensive outfit looks in shambles. Guys are missing. I heard Mark Schlereth break down about how Quinn Miners, in the first 3 plays, misassignment, bad technique, got whipped.
Yeah.
I mean, that's $80 million guy. Like, all right, if we can't rely on a guy who is supposed to be top 5 guard in the league to handle their business, and even just, who you're playing against Cam Hayward and that kind of stuff, where you're just holding serve. We're not progressing, but we're not giving back. The fact that isn't the case is that part is the concerning part. The interception in the end zone, someone ran the wrong route. How do you run the wrong route in the NFL? Like, what's going on? So there is a disconnect in how the system is working. And for that, that's perplexing. That's upsetting to me. Is like, it already was going to be an uphill battle, right? It's, a lot of some talent exited. You've got young guys. You're trying to see who's kind of who's in the hole to make it. And our just like, what? I'm baffled. I'm baffled at how an outfit with as detailed of a person as Sean Payton is, how it can look like that. So like, something has to change. If it's the play call getting in, like it was last year, this was what it kind of looked like last year. And then they simplified some things, started running kind of more generic tags, more, less motion, shorter phrasing. They did a whole bunch of different stuff. And so my thought is they got to do that. Like, you have to remove the barriers and find out where are the issues occurring. As a coaching staff, you have to remove them. If you're thinking like, you just got to push through, guys, that's the way it is, you got to like pick it up. That's fine if the plan isn't to win every week. The plan is for them to get the system for the greater good in 2025 and 26. I don't think coaches think like that. I think they want to win now. I also think if, Bo Nix playing at this level with inconsistencies in pass protection, inconsistencies in routes, play call and play design, some of that's even like, where are we? What are we doing? That's not going to help his development either, right? So, you can see he's leaning on his back foot, right? The Drew Lock is coming out a little bit, and that happens when you don't trust up front, and so his development will be skewed now, or can be, if he's playing for survival versus progression, and so that part needs to change. That part is pretty concerning. That said, the defense, let's go.
Yeah.
Riley Moss looked like an NFL player. The safeties have looked like NFL players. Up front, they've played pretty stout. Nice shot, VJ. This time last year, he got 70 hung on him. And that guy quietly came to work, handled his business. You lose Josie Jewell. You lose Justin Simmons, right? You don't know what you have at all in your right cornerback. And all right, we'll figure it out. And that side is playing outside of one bad quarter in Seattle. Like that group's doing their job. So it's a little bit of like, it's like one great in one hand and not in the other. I just know for us, I'm really tired of watching really bad offensive football. It's being bad and losing like this is, I can handle losing. I don't like it. I can handle it. But like, there's like a glimpse towards hope, right? So even last week, like, you know what? You can see where there was a couple opportunities, missed opportunities in Seattle that you really probably had them, or you could have. Like this last week, it was like, nothing. Like nothing looked good. There was no glimmer of hope. There was, big play comes on chunk plays, or on gadget plays. Those aren't sustainable, that kind of stuff. So offensively, I don't know. There's nowhere to go but up. That's for sure. Because that last week was by far one of the worst offensive football games I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, it is kind of painfully bad right now. And, part of me, we kind of wrote off, as soon as we got Russ out of town, we kind of wrote off the impact that salary cap piece would take. And I think part of it is just like, hey, we got to move on, right? Like we've had enough bad things happen. We want to move on. We have these young guys that we have some hope that can turn out. But I think at this point we're starting to see the impact of not having that additional cap space and additional bodies of, guys that have played in this league and have some experience and can fill holes, and can give you some depth and can coach up young guys. I just think that there's a piece of that is really real, and we're feeling that as a team. On top of that, I don't know how I feel about this coaching staff. I'd hope that offensively they would be not a force to be reckoned with necessarily right now, but a team that could be more, at least league average, productive on the offensive side. It's really disappointing that we can't even get to that point, and I understand with a rookie quarterback you're gonna have growing pains, but this having such stagnant offense this early on is just really discouraging, and I'm not sure where you go from there. We talk about however many passes Bo Nix has thrown in 2 games, 79 or something so like that passes in 2 games. Seems like a lot, maybe too much. What does that say about the running game? What does that say about the personnel that we have on that offensive line? And what does it say about the trust that Sean Payton has in those players? I don't know. And it's hard to know where his head's at. It's hard to know where this these offensive players' heads are at. We're dropping passes. Greg Dulcich had at least 2 drops last game.
Yeah.
Maybe an additional one. I kind of stopped watching at some point. Like in detail, I watched it unfortunately, but just like even when we have opportunity to make plays, the mistakes are killing us. They don't look disciplined. They look confused. They're obviously confused on their route running, and whilst trying to be opportunistic. And it just seems like there's a disconnect, and I don't know what that is. And it's a little scary. It's a little scary when you've invested this much into Sean Payton, kind of being the next long-term coach for this team. And now we're thinking about, well, if things go poorly, do we roll this back another year, or do we start thinking about who the next Broncos coach is? Right. And it gets a little depressing.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because it's. I think that you have to run it probably one more year at minimum.
Yeah.
You have to give the second year with that quarterback, because at that point, then you'll know whether or not you're going to move on from both.
That's right, though, because if we have a top 3 pick, then you want to go with a quarterback, maybe.
Well, I think you have to look at it, and with the way that it goes, you saw it with Josh Rosen, et cetera.
Yeah.
They should absolutely look at it. That said, it's kind of one of those where if Bo is a problem, then you're going to have a top 5 pick the next year.
Yeah.
Arch Manning, just saying.
That's true.
That'd be super dope. Not gonna lie. That'd be super dope.
Yeah. It's a pipe dream, I think. I'll be all for it.
Remember, next year, the Broncos, at least as of the moment, have $74 million and some change in cap room. That's without, finagling, cutting anyone, all that good stuff. Like Cortland, who's like a $17 million cap hit next year that probably either will get adjusted or this is it. And I think I'm very much looking at it as like we're figuring out if Bo is the dude.
Yeah.
And let's slow down our perceptions of what we think this team can be, and just do they have some answers to some solutions?
Yeah.
And that is the one that matters. I think defensively, you're finding out some guys that you're going to want to keep long term. The more guys over there that can stick, that you feel like you have a really good idea of what they can bring, especially either Coop or Browning or both. I think that makes you feel pretty good. And then I think you're able to attack the offense, right? So there's a talent gap. I think Josh Reynolds is a good receiver. I think he's a 3 or 4. I think that you got to not expect that he's going to be a guy that's going to come in crunch time and come up with a big time grab. I thought Devon Bailey looked nice in week 1, but again, like, is he a number 1? Like, they don't have a stud go-to player to, give the ball to and in crunch time, and you're like, we'll live and die with that guy. They don't have one of those. I think they're trying to win by committee. I think there's less really bad talent like on the bottom, but not elite talent. I think next year when you have that much money, offensively, you're probably going to readdress the offensive line. You look at tackles, which means you're going to save money there, which means you can go get, you can go splurge on some, some skill player positions to give yourself some juice. If it's me, if I'm the Broncos, I think there has to be a point where you're asking yourself, and I made this joke, I think in a group text that we're on, at some point, like, no one over 26 on the offense can play. Let's just figure it out. Hey, Troy, we're getting out there and you're going to figure it out or you're not. Marvin, we're putting you out there, you're going to figure it out or you're not. Like, we got to find out if you're some dudes, because right now, Marvin Mims is nowhere to be found. And, Franklin is starting to get a little bit of run, but not really. And then, we already know what Josh Reynolds at 29 is. Cortland Sutton at 29 is. And you need guys to be able to continue to learn to grow together. Do you think that they should think about pulling a Bryce Young and benching Bo Nix at all?
I'm always kind of a proponent of letting guys get reps, and so I think you let him play. I don't think he's getting. I think that the problem is less with Bo. Not to say that Bo's played well, because I don't think he's played well.
Okay.
I don't think anyone
he has not helped himself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, I don't think he's getting much help either, and so I think that you run the risk of kind of getting him a little bit shell shocked, which he may already be starting to feel. I do worry about that a little bit, but I also think like he's going to have opportunities to put this team on his shoulders, this offense on his shoulders, and make something happen. Whether that's in a winning or losing environment, I think that is a trait that you have to be able to find and see if he has. Mm-hmm. I think the worry is that, being a little bit older, coming into his NFL stint, you are not seeing. You see it off the field. You see the poise and you see the good, how he handles the media and his responses. But I don't think you see that same sort of level of poise and confidence on the field, and I think that's a little bit concerning. But ultimately, I think he's got to be out there getting reps. If you want him to be the quarterback of the future, you got to let him play. I mean, I don't know who's the last great quarterback that sat for a long time outside of Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Jordan Love is going to be something people point to, but I'm not sure that he's it yet. And really, a lot of guys flop when they get out there, but a lot of guys can put it together, and you see some pieces. I don't know. It's a bit of a mixed bag, but ultimately, I think they need to keep rolling with Bo.
Yeah, I think Bo's got to play it out because he isn't the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think benching him would indicate that you think that he does. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did in Carolina, why Bryce Young they chose to go with Andy Dalton, but in my opinion, I think there's enough regression from Bryce that like you got to take a breather, man. You probably still are maybe a long-term plan. I think you have the number 1 overall pick. I think he's going to be on your roster next year, I assume. So unless you're going to deal him, you might as well get what you can out of him and like see what you got. But if he's getting sacked 6 times a game, his head's like, all right, like maybe you just need to see it from the side to gain some perspective, and we'll get you back out there. We're not committing to Andy Dalton long term. Jarrett Stidham isn't Andy Dalton, and for Andy Dalton has been a Pro Bowler. So like for all of the jokes that we have about Andy Dalton, which are plenty, it's not like they're going to Jimmy Clausen or somebody that has no pelts on the wall, and you're just like, we're going to roll out this other non-proven terrible quarterback. potentially. But I think you got to go for it because I think it's the outfit. I think to me, it's like there's a gear off. The engine's primed up. I think there are pieces there to get some really good things done. I think something is in the way. I think that there is a language barrier when it comes to the play design and the execution. I don't think Sean Payton forgot how to call offensive football. I don't think you forget that in a year, and especially when you're working in football still. When you take the year off, it's not like he went and sat on the beach with and proceeded to smoke away his life, even though he has been known to bong and rip. Just saying. And so I think there's something probably that Bo is getting confused. I mean, those play calls are absurd, man. Like go to YouTube, look at Sean Payton play call. Like that's it's so much stuff. And then if you have personnel coming in and out, you're up to the line and you're just going because you have to snap the ball. Offensive line probably don't have enough time to count numbers about who's my responsibility on this run. Like where are we at? Because it's, as soon as I get my butt down and my hand in like we're going. And so I think Andrew Mason had said, he wrote that the Broncos had like over 7 yards per snap of offense in week 2 for plays that were where the ball was snapped with more than 10 seconds on the play clock. It was like 4 and some change when it was less than. Right? Yeah. And so and even if you take the big play out, he was like, it's still in the high 5s, which is still like a yard and a half per difference every time you snap the ball. Mm-hmm. Which to me then goes to show, right, when they're able to get up to the line, people are able to correctly identify their markers, because there's a lot of that in football, being able to communicate what your responsibility is and make sure you're on the same page, because all it takes is one offensive lineman to go to the wrong guy for a play to get blown up. You can't out-athlete that thing. And so that's where I feel like it's really the outfit. The outfit is struggling. Why Sean Payton doesn't, I still think there's some questionable decisions that he made. I think he made 3 in the game, at least that not onside kicking it.
Right. That's a big one.
Not going for a touchdown instead of a field goal to make it, a 13-3 game. Like you still got to score twice, man. That doesn't, I know you don't want to get shut out for sure. But if we're like that morale, like I don't care about that. I don't care about we've never been shut out. I don't not putting that in my Broncos fandom shirt. That's not a record that we care about. It's cool. But if they get shut out, I'd rather them go down swinging than a couple of field goals and we still lost by touchdown. What are we doing? Why Tyler Batty doesn't get more run? I think we were asking that last year. And that dude touches it. Yeah, good stuff happens. I
was concerned when they had waived him. I was worried that he wasn't going to be
sure. Yeah, you were.
That was someone that I thought showed value in preseason, and then he gets a touch, and you're like, okay, maybe we got a little bit of something here, and then he disappears at Bronco and BA.
So like that, right? So where are our planned opportunities for guys like that? Why hasn't Marvin Mims ran an end around yet?
Yeah.
Right. Or just a stop bubble, or, where is the creativity and opportunity to be able to get the ball in fast guys' hands, because right now they're getting the ball and they have to be last in the league in yak. They got it. You gotta be. Let's see. But things like that are concerning because the offense, you don't have enough dynamic talent to be, to scheme up routes short of the 6. You don't have a guy that can, AJ Brown, who can shoulder shrug people, and he's going to break a tackle. Derrick Henry is going to break. You don't have those guys. So when you don't, you have to readjust where your markers are. You can't run a 3rd and 6 route at 4 yards. You just physically can't do it. Yep, Bo's going to throw it to you because he's a robot right now. He's young, trying to process the game. You have to help him out by running a route for a first down. Stuff like that's why I think if something is able to click, I think that you will get respectable offensive football. I also think as the year goes on, I think the offense will play better. I think it just One, it has to again, but two, consistency, right? Like the shell shock, I think will wear off of Bo Nix and the offense. I think they'll find out what he likes to run and what he doesn't. And so some of those things will get out. The other stuff, like Greg Dulcich catch the ball. Like why you weren't targeted a ton in game one, maybe that's because you dropped a bunch of passes. Like I don't like you got to help each other out. There are some guys that have to play above the X's and O's and make some plays. And offensively, no one is doing it. No one is just like a little bit at like, all right, man, like no one's going to tackle me on this 3rd and 1. I don't care where they hit me at. Like it ain't happening. Instead of like, you get tripped up or you slip like Javonte, like, dear goodness gracious. It feels like it's something like on every single play. Like it's something every single play. Not like, oh, like in crunch moment. Like, no, every play, it looks like we're playing uphill. You guys are doing it to yourselves. I thought Pittsburgh's defense looked really strong and they're a really good team, but like we helped them a ton. We weren't challenging them to make a play. And it was like, oh, they're just better than us. Nope. I think that they're better than the Broncos offensively, but I think the Broncos are the biggest defender of Broncos offensive football right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know. I don't know what direction they need to go at this point.
I do. You want me to tell you?
Sure, go for
it. So one, I think Bo Nix needs to go into the offensive line meeting rooms. And I think that they have to, you have Wattenberg there, who is a new center. And if he's making the line calls, I think you take that away from him and say, hey, Ben, or hey, Quinn, like you're doing the line calls. Right. I think you need to tag plays like, hey, 1 or 2, and you have to give them to him with a simple check. So Bo on the wristband, 1, 2, that kind of stuff. The verbiage needs to slim. And you have to find out like who is your core offensive group. And then you can shift like a player or 2 at a time. And I know that they want to be multiple. I really love it. And I think maybe towards the end of the season, you get really dynamic and you got position groups coming in and all that stuff. Sure. But right now it's like, if our set is 13 personnel, 3 receivers and a tight end and a running back. Like, who are your 3 guys?
Yeah.
And then you rotate a receiver or whatever, but we're sticking with that group and finding out what that group can do well and build some efficacy around that. I think just really like, let's just stop trying to be smart. Let's play simple. Let's play fast. Then you find out who can't play, right? So who's just getting outmanned. And then you can decide from there about how you schematically fix some things. But it's so hard to even know who is the issue. And there are so many issues. And a lot of it is head up, not the rest of it. Like guys aren't running the right routes. Guys are missing the silence of block. Bo's coming around too quick to a throw or to a read, and it's not getting there, or bad fundamental, like all that. But it's stuff that they lost pre-snap. Like, dear goodness gracious, that play wasn't going to work already. And I think the cohesiveness and getting on the same page in what's doable, I think that has to happen. Like, hopefully that was Monday and Tuesday. It's just like, all right, guys, what does it sound like when it gets to you all? Well, here's why I ran what I ran, or I did what I did. I heard this in the huddle, or whatever, right? Maybe Bo is tongue-tied. Like, that part is just, you got to figure that part out. We can't continue to do that. And if you're just like, all right, we're just going to improve it. And, like, no, stop. Like, don't keep running right now. Like, this isn't a relay race, like all that stuff. Like, we got to stop, reset the race, reset the blocks, find out where the errors are. That's what Vance Joseph did, right? So after and then giving up 28 points to Justin Fields and the Bears in the first half, it was like, all right, we're trying to be too much. And here's what we're going to run. We'll get good at it. Or you're not going to be in the league probably because you're putting out crap tape. Like, it's just, no more excuses. Simple, get there, be able to do it. So that's the prescription. Whether or not that turns the season around so that we're pushing for, for a playoff spot, I don't know, and I won't bank on that. But I think that that's what can happen. And I also probably want to bring it back to us for last year. Broncos are 1-5, right? And losing to the Packers.
Yep.
Right. So before you get done, you blink, they're 6-5, and they're in charge of their destiny. And the NFL right now, you can see it week to week, right? It's Minnesota beating the Niners. It's Derek Carr looking like
incredible.
And so this stuff can happen. Things can flip. Like, we'll give some grace, but there has to be some level of understanding about where the issues are with an offensive coaching staff that connected and that familiar with one another. Like, it's the Saints coaching staff, right? Like, there cannot be that kind of issue with that. Like, that has to get ironed out real quick. If the Broncos are 5-12, but they win 5 of their last 6 or 5 out of their last 10, like, I'll take that. Sacrifice the first 10, but you're seeing a little bit here, a little bit there. And at the end of the year, it's like, all right, we know who our dogs are. Like, we know who we're going to be in this fight with next year. We got a ton of money. We have all of our picks. Like, that's where I want to end up. And I'll take early season misery for late season hope than, them being 1-1 right now, but it was terrible. And we're like tricking ourselves into kind of what we were last year. Like, oh, we're a playoff team. Like, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, but not sustainable, right? Like, it's fun for this year. It's Tebow mania. It's like, that's great. But you're not going to win like this. I want to know that we're putting something together to win in the future. How do you feel about Bo? I think you've had some understanding that there are more issues than Bo. Do you feel better, worse, etc.?
I feel mostly fine with Bo still. I don't think it's any secret that I wasn't a huge fan of the pick.
Yep.
But he's shown me some things that give me some hope, especially leading up to the season. It's probably when I was highest on him. After that first game, it felt close enough where it was like, okay, first game in a tough place to play. Got a little bit rattled. You could see it. That's gonna happen. And it's still another tough defense. It's not like the Steelers are a cupcake defense that he's got to go up against. Yeah. And maybe we run into a team that's a little less stout on that defensive side, and we find a little more rhythm. I think that I'm not giving up on Bo. I'm certainly not giving up on Bo. I just don't know how long my leash would be for him, since I never really had the buy-in to begin with from the draft. Started with the draft pick, but I think he has good qualities, and I think he can be a starter in this league. I don't know what level. I think that'll be determined kind of as we continue down this road. Yeah. But I agree. They need to simplify things. Bronco MBA had made a comment. It's going to be tough. You have to establish running game. It's key. They have to stretch.
Yeah, there's no synergy, right? There's nothing to build off one another. There isn't a complement. It's not complementary football. It's, like I said, each play is kind of, it feels doomed to start. And then when when it's blocked well and read well, then Javonte slips. Like, like it's pouring right now. And that's the good news, at least, is like the team's better than that. The players are better than that. I have no doubt. It's like they're playing as bad as they can as a collective group, which is good, because at least it's like, it's probably all like that we're going to get out of it. That I'm calling it a wrap. Dr. Kevorkian, send me the script. Like, let's get it wrapped.
I think they're still not really utilizing his strengths. I don't think in the offensive game. I still think you need to rely on his legs a little bit, and I think they need to design that. And on the scoring drive for the second field goal, they did. They had a designed run play for Bo Nix, and I was like, finally, maybe we're going to
that was the change with Russ last year, right? Is like he started to utilize, like, he's going to get 4 designed carries a game, because you can't account for him, right? And then if you do, then you have pass plays off that, right? So then you run a slant behind your QB power, he steps back, boom. I think there's stuff like that of like, if we're trying to win, then we need to start running things that he's good at.
Yeah.
If it's now like he's got to just take it on the chin, because this is learning for future. Like, we're going to call this stuff. This is where we're going to be most successful. He can do all this, but he's got to get over this hump. Then it kind of makes sense to me a little bit of like, all right, then call what you're going to call. and he's got to get it because it's data and all those things. And I think leaning on what he does really well, to simplify stuff. One, I think that's just smart. Two, I think that will progress his confidence. I think the game will slow down when you start to feel like when there's a rhythm, right? Like, oh, I ran it 5 yards, quick slant for 4, ran it for 5 yards, quick slant for 7. Like it's just like, all right, now there's some progression on stuff. And the defense can't predict where we're going with it. Because right now it's pretty easy and vanilla to understand how to defend the Denver Broncos, which is hard when I think that you have a plus athlete at quarterback. I think he is a top 10 quarterback athlete, right? So I think he is not up there with Jaden Daniels, but I think he's just the athlete as Caleb Williams, probably maybe even a little bit more of a dynamic runner than Caleb. And so being able to utilize some of that, like you can get 30 yards a game rushing with him if you utilize him, which then I think it takes away a run defender to account for the running back if you run options or reads, which hopefully then will help account for someone that missed an assignment, and then you're able to get a good run play in. Again, jet sweeps, things like that. Like you have a couple fast guys, so he can't run a route right now. That sucks. He can take a handoff.
Yep.
Like some creativity in that, I think hopefully will be good. Simpler stuff, run more floods, high to lows, really kind of simplify what his looks, his checks, and his reads are. But I feel okay about it. I think the hard part is the run game just looks so bad. And really it's in totality. So again, maybe it's Luke Wattenberg isn't setting the right, the right protection or the right mic or marker. So then guys are going to the wrong guys to block. I think things like that can get cleaned up. And if so, however, I like Jaleel. I like Javonte. I wish they were the same person. You could put stoutness into some speed.
Yeah.
Since they're not, I really worry about you don't have a dynamic player back there who can help account for some of that, right? Like has the wiggle enough in tight boxes to, if Quinn doesn't necessarily win his rep, but he stalls, can you utilize that to still be able to get 2 yards or 3 yards instead of you need him to really open the hole for you to get through it. I watched Alvin Kamara this weekend. And he got through that hole, I think on his third touchdown, where, it was he had to go sideways to get through the hole. Right. And how hard that must be. We don't have anyone that can do anything like that, at least that I see yet. We'll see. But things like that, I think, are what makes me feel better about the future, because I think we'll go get maybe even that exact guy next year. We're going to have some guys that are studs that can do some of that stuff. This isn't the team that we're going to be stuck with for the next 5 years. It really is who can be it. And Broncos be on point. I blame Peyton at this point. Yes. I also believe in him. Yes. He has all the power in the dynamic. He's choosing the groceries and he's calling the plays. I don't know who else you blame. I don't think you can. And I think it's got to fall on him right now. You can't blame a rookie quarterback. No. You can't blame an unexperienced offense with however many young guys we have, between Dulcich and Bailey and Mims and Troy Franklin and, Quinn Miners. It's a pretty young group, really. So he's got to take it on the chin and take responsibility for this start. And I think that Broncos fans are smart, and I think they realize that. And I think they realize that whatever has happened up to this point is not working, and we expect some adjustments. And I think we should, kind of to that point. I also blame Peyton. I think it's more of a Peyton issue than anything. You have guys that have certain skill sets. It's like basketball. Where a guy likes to get to take a shot, right? And you try and get him to that spot, or he tries to get himself to that spot. Yeah. They need to work on getting guys to their spots. Where are you comfortable? Yeah, I think that's perfect, right? It's you at least have enough data right now to know who's good at what. Okay, right? So maybe I said this what are the 4 routes that Marvin Mims and Troy Franklin can run to an NFL level? Then put them on the field and have them run those 4 freaking routes, right? Yeah. And so you can have Cortland or Reynolds or whoever, they're running the more dynamic or the if it's a choice route, that kind of stuff. but like, let's put them in and have them do the things that we know that they can do, and the things that I think mentally they got, and physically, I bet all those guys can run a whole bunch of stuff. They're super athletes, all that. But do they understand the nuance of it? Are they confident that when it's called in the huddle, they know where to find, like when to listen or when to cue, and what it's asking of them? Like, let's find out, like, that's the ground zero. Like, where's the issue?
Yep.
Like, can we go figure that out? Because if we can, then the guys can play faster, right? If you have more confidence, you feel like you are clear about what's being asked of you, you can play quite a bit quicker. And so I think that has to start with Peyton. I think it is a Peyton issue, because he also, like, he had absolute power, his handpicked guy. Like, yeah, man, there is no excuses for it. And so what do we expect? Let's do a little preview, unless there's anything about last week that you want to talk about.
No, I mean, we talked about it for 45 minutes.
I mean, really, it's like there's not really anything good to talk about. Let's keep it real. So, playing Tampa Bay on the road.
Yep.
Tampa with my guy Baker Mayfield. I appreciate, like, I like Baker. I know he's that guy. Like, he's on your team, you like him. If he's not, you can't stand him. And
I like him more as a
college Baker was an absolute tool, but I kind of liked it. I mean, it's a shorter guy. Where have I heard this before? Little moxie, little attitude, little, like, I'm not the most physically gifted player out here, but F you, like, let's see what you got, man. Sure. Self-made, all those good things. So, and he's playing really, really good football. Like, good for you, man. Good for you to not let the Cleveland Browns ruin you, and the Panthers. Sure. Like, talk about a guy that went from crappy to crappy.
Yeah.
Look at those outfits. Like, man, no wonder the fact that you were even a player at all.
That's pretty impressive.
In Cleveland, watching how they handle stuff, like, geez, like, good gracious. Defensively, it's going to be a very difficult matchup. It's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin right now, PFF has him as the highest ranked receiver in the league. And then I think the good parts, though, is up front. They have Tristan Wirfs, who is a phenomenal lineman, a tackle, but really, they're really struggling up front. They got what is it, Cody Barton? No, that's our Barton. Graham Barton playing center out of Duke, and they're still kind of meshing. So up front, they haven't been it. So I think defensively, I think this team will match up a little bit better with Tampa Bay than maybe most teams will. I think we have some strong corners as of the moment. So I'm super pumped about that. On offense, though, they got Vita Vea, who is a monster. Like,
I think he might be hurt. I'm gonna look.
Maybe, yeah. Double check on that. But outside of that, Antoine Whitfield is a phenomenal safety, and I think their corners are pretty good. Jamil Dean and Zion McCollum, Zion McCollum is the 9th ranked corner per PFF so far this year, which his athleticism is just absolutely through the roof. And so, that said, I think you have like a couple pockets of guys that are playing well, but statistically, or at least per PFF, which I'll kind of use throughout, you match up okay. Like, you numbers wise, like, there's no one on that roster that's really, really tilting the stage. So the fact that it's on the road stinks. I think is it an early game? Maybe. But either way, it's definitely a game that I'm probably not super confident in. But this is one of those games, too, where Broncos go down there, tough spot against a 2-0 team on the road and win. Like, recency bias is a mofo. I mean, that would significantly change our outlook. It really does. So I think that they match up on paper. Okay. That said, Tampa has been playing, like, Baker has played with those guys for a year and a half now. Right. And so I think that they have synergy. I think that the rest of the group, even defensively, most of those guys were there last year. Same coaching staff for the most part. So it's just, there's a lot of synergy there. And so that's where I feel like they are better coached from top to bottom than the Broncos are with whatever is going on offense. So I presume actually that the defense will keep the team in it. So stop me if you've heard this before. And offense will do just enough to not be pathetic, but not enough to be good.
Yeah. I mean, I hope. I'm not even going to hope for a win at this point. I just want to hope I hope that they're focusing on first downs and play calling on first down, because I think that if you can win even a little bit on first downs, if you can give Bo some shorter yardage situations to convert, I think that he will gain some confidence in that. And then, if you're winning on first down, you can vary your play calling a little bit. I think the problem we have is that teams are just coming downhill all the time at us. There's no, like we said, no yak, not able to break away because everyone's coming downhill full sprint. There's no worry about us going over the top. There's no playmaker that they're concerned about that they're game planning necessarily. And so I think that if they can win the down game, especially early, you can set yourself up to be in some better positions. And I think that you can get a little bit of momentum. Defensively, it's going to be tough. I think we're really going to get tested by Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. These are veteran guys that have been doing it at a high level for a long time. Godwin, probably a pretty underrated receiver when you think about receivers across the league. No one's really talking about him as one of the greats, but quietly consistent, someone you can rely on, someone who's a great route runner, someone who can make plays happen, and ultimately sets the table for Mike Evans to kind of feast down the sideline, And it's a really nice 1-2 punch that they have. I'll be interested to see how our corners hold up. I'll be interested to see that battle between Pat and Mike Evans and or Godwin. I think it's going to be a defining, I won't say moment in the season, but it's going to show the upside potentially of this defense. If they can come out and limit those guys. I love the point that Bronco NBA said about scoring 22 points, 14-2, 13-3 when scoring 22 points. I mean, we haven't seen great offensive football aside from the Saints.
Really, that's the one team that has been consistent through 2 weeks.
And I mean, Arizona had a good week last week, but
they were terrible week one.
Marvin Harrison had one catch in week one. No one's really lighting it up right now. The Jets were supposed to come out and have a dynamic offense, and they've really struggled with a veteran quarterback. So I'm not sure what it is right now that's kind of giving these defenses the edge. But everyone's a little bit in flux. I think everyone is feeling a little bit of pressure. I think as the season, obviously, and if we fall somewhere in the middle, I think that's okay if that's where we land with Bo at the end of this. But ultimately for this matchup, I just think probably a little bit overmatched, probably a little bit overcoached. Some veteran guys that can really kind of take the wind out of our sails. Give Bo a clean pocket, win on first down. Let's see what can happen. But I think you got to go into this feeling like we're the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, it really is hopefully it's the same chip that they were practicing or, that they had on point throughout last year. This to me is guys, we got to be better. Let's give ourselves an opportunity to really see who we are. And to do that, we got to be on the same page. But I also think, hey guys, you have an opportunity, you're whether it's here or not, we're evaluating who is in it for the long haul. And for those guys who aren't, you're putting tape out for your next employer, right? So Mike McGlinchey, $23 million cap hit, can't cut him. Dead cap is absurd because of a restructure. So McGlinchey's going to be here. Cortland Sutton might actually be here. So you'd save about $10 million by moving on from Court. But he has a $20 million cap hit next year. Zach Allen, $19 million. Zach Allen, by the way, starting to ball out. Nice job, bro. Ben Powers, $17 million cap hit, has not balled out. John Franklin Myers, $10 million cap hit, has not balled out and is hurt. And so, rest of that, though, I mean, Josh Reynolds, probably not going to be here next year. Not balled out. Troutman has not played well here. Probably not going to play. so there, I think that there's gonna be an opportunity to move on and have a ton of money available. So even me, if I'm that staff, my message is like, we're looking for dudes, like at some point you guys got to want to break a tackle, make a catch, like to do what needs to get done. We're looking for guys to be those guys for this offense. Like, who wants the ball in crunch time? Like, who's the alpha? Like, who in that receiver room is like, when goes back in the huddle, Bo, throw me the ball.
Yeah.
Maybe we have a lot of nice guys in the locker room, which is great. But no one's super confident and say, hey, we'll run, like, we're going to score points if you give me the ball. And I hope that we start to see some of those guys take ownership and opportunity to say, hey, like, I want to be that dude. And Court has kind of quietly at times, but then, it's a little bit of like his ups aren't as high as they used to be. And so even as like really good games, he has a touchdown grab, like 6 yards. It's good if he's your 3, but we need someone that's like going to go out there, go get 100 yards, rushing, receiving, right? It's just going to be like, yeah, but they got that guy. So hopefully maybe someone is that. Maybe when Audric comes back, you can start feeding him a little bit and see what you got. Or like Marvin and Troy got to play. I think that's a part that I hope gets pushed a little bit and they have to be targeted. Like give them an opportunity to like be the guy that makes the play, not just out there running clear outs and things like that. We're throwing it to, we're throwing the ball to possession receivers short of the sticks and we need to make a play. Those aren't the guys. Like, don't do that stuff. So if we can get some of that cleaned up, I think we'll get some better offensive football. But until then, I think it's all right for us to say, all right, you know what? I'm not even cautiously optimistic right now. I'll wait and see.
Yep.
I'll wait to see for the optimism or my optimistic look, because you haven't given me a reason this season right now, first 2 games, to feel like the Broncos even know what their problem is.
Yep. Let's do quick predictions, and then we're going to jump out of here. You want to go first? Yeah,
I think Tampa Bay wins. But I think that we're going to get our first 2 passing touchdowns.
Okay.
I think that we're going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to win 27-17.
Okay. I had 27-14 Tampa. I also feel like, as ludicrous as it sounds, you get 2 touchdowns. It feels a lot better than what's been happening so far.
Yeah,
maybe even that's something.
Like if it's 27-14 or 17, but you're like a couple missed third down progressions away from maybe putting up some more points. Like, give me that. Like, give me that.
Yeah.
That's all right. We're going in the right way. That's a really good offensive football team on their, in their backyard. It's going to be difficult for the Broncos to stop them. What do you think? Let's predict Bo Nick's stat line real quick.
I like Broncos and I like your enthusiasm here, and I hope that's true.
Yeah, me too.
I hope it's true. I would love to see Baker lose. Not again, nothing personal. Actually, my hate for Baker has diminished over the years. It has a little bit. Now that he's kind of an older, humbled man. Yeah. But I'd still love to beat him. I just want to see this team win ultimately. That's most important.
That is, in the end, that's what matters for sure.
Bo Nick's stat line. I'll say, 20 for 31.
That'd be good. I like it. Keep going.
Yeah, buck 50, 2 touchdowns.
Buck 50, nice. All right. I think he's gonna throw. I'm gonna go over. It's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna say that they're gonna figure some stuff out. He's gonna complete 65% of his passes for about 210 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Because I think he'll. There's probably leads the league in interceptions. I don't think that'll go away yet. Broncos of VA, we appreciate you. Way to show up, dog. Big shout out to D-Rock. So we appreciate all of you, but definitely appreciate when you interact. Continue to do that. And then we are going to bounce. So
we're out of here.
See us out, bro.
Yeah, thank you, guys. We appreciate you as always. Make sure you catch us next week. We'll be doing the same thing and going over the Buccaneers game. And how we're
And then
feeling.
we got some hockey season and basketball season around the bend, so I do a little previews too.
Yeah, they're showing up. They're showing up to NHL training camps now. So thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. Be kind to one another. Go Broncos. Go all of our Denver sports teams. And if you need a sports prescription, call a doctor
or a subscription.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Tempo's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute, work hard for the car, so that's why